So I put this presentation together probably 2003, 2004, so not too long after the tech bubble burst. And so in certain cases, you'll see it's a little bit dated in places just because the way people are talking is kind of post-bubble talk, based upon what the environment was at that time. But really what this presentation is all about is, at one point I had probably 10 or 20 business plans of my clients on my desk. And as I was reading through them, most of them were pretty poor. And it just kind of struck me how bad they were in a number of instances. And so for whatever reason, being that the tech bubble had burst and technology lawyers were slow at the time, I had some extra time and I put together this presentation. So the format of the presentation is essentially listing and highlighting all of the key areas of the business plan. Basically just, if you look up business plan key elements, those are our sections. That's what we're going to talk about today. And then I'm going to tell you the things that I see that are basically people tend to not do so well, okay? And that may be an understatement, but the point is, and then I follow with an example, okay? So this is one of the presentations where I'm actually going to do some reading to you because I want you to read the quotes. And the quotes are verbatim, okay? So you're going to see the typos, you're going to see the misspellings, and you're going to see the poor grammar and everything, but it's just kind of revealing. These are the types of things that people were using to pursue financing. So that's kind of it. The game rules are, this is designed to be interactive, so feel free to interrupt, ask questions at any time, and I'll let you know when we have to move on. But again, feel free to kind of have a dialogue with me as we talk about this. So because I'm going to kind of be talking, is this on? Do we need it? We don't need it, do we? No. Okay. So anyhow, okay. So we talked about what are these common sections, right? And again, if you do Google business plan sections, you're going to get something that looks quite like this, okay? The executive summary, this is what they tell everybody to write after you've written the business plan because it basically summarizes it. If you're like me, I always did it first, or at least, I was a guy who wrote kind of like my introductory paragraph to my paper first when they said you're supposed to do it last. Just for some reason I needed as the framework of where I was going. The mission and vision, okay? The mission statement is basically what we're here for, what the company's going to be doing, right? The vision statement is what I've always been told is this lofty statement, right? Where we want to be, but I've always been told that it should be something that you're never ever going to get to, right? Otherwise, it becomes your mission. And so the vision has to be something that's this lofty goal where you'd love to get to, but you never quite get there. Company description, what's the business? How do you communicate to people exactly what you do? What's your product and services? That's the easy part for most people. And in fact, as we're going to find out, most people spend way too much time talking about their product and service. They become very product-centric, and and at the end of the day is when you're putting a business plan together or something that you're going to put to an investor, it's not necessarily the focus or what should be the focus of the presentation. Industry analysis. What's the industry we're in? Who are we competing with in that industry? What does the environment look like? Target market. Target market may be a sub-market within the target. It may be a particular market niche that we're focusing on as opposed to the entire grandiose market that we're in. Marketing sales plan. Simply said, how do we reach our customer? Okay. How are we going to get our product and service to the customer? How are we going to get the word out? Okay. Because this was done in 2003, 2004, you're not going to see the word viral. It didn't exist back then, okay? If I was going to do this endeavor today and use business plans today, the word viral would be everywhere. Okay, that's just kind of like one of the more common mistakes we see now. I'll talk about in that section. Competitive analysis. Who's going to stand in our way? Who's going to take our lunch from us? Who are the big boys out there that we have to compete with? The management team. Why are these the people that we should bet on? What do these people have in their backgrounds, their skills, experience? Have they been successful before? Have they failed? And have they learned by their failure? I mean, these are all the types of things that's important to know. Who's this team? Who's running this business? And why should we care? The operational plan, that's essentially how do we get from here to there? Okay, how are we going to move this business along? Financial projections, how much money is this business going to make? How's that meaningful for me as an investor? And lastly, the exit strategy. How are we going to liquidate the company, create liquidity for our investors, and give a return to them? Okay, so those are the topics, and again, the way I've organized this is we're going to go back to each of those topics here, and we're going to kind of drill down on the types of mistakes that people tend to make. And by the way, I see all of you guys writing furiously. Rest assured, this is available online. Okay, you can get all my presentations at SlideShare. If you're not familiar with SlideShare, it's a great website, www.slideshare.net, and then you'll do // one of the slashes, Bart SlideShare. Okay, and this will be available there. So that way, you guys don't have to write as fast, and you can take a little bit more detailed notes, or less detailed notes. Executive summary. Okay, again, the point of the executive summary is to tie it all together in hopefully no more than one page. If you have to go to 2, don't go to more than 2. I mean, those are kind of the basic concepts here. Okay. The other thing to talk about is, to a large extent, using a business plan as a fundraising mechanism is kind of out of fashion today. I mean, really what people are doing is they're creating PowerPoint decks. But again, it's still all relevant to where we're going here. It just means your introductory slide shouldn't have these mistakes as well. So I'm going to be talking about business plans, but keep in the back of mind, it equally applies to Power Deck presentations and anything in which you're talking about these topics. So the problems we see in executive summary is lacking a specific focus. Why is that fatal? Because that's the whole idea of the executive summary. It's supposed to summarize things up. It's supposed to be needle sharp, focused, and to the point. Failing to outline the terms of the investment sought. If this is going to be used to try to raise financing, okay, you got to tell the investor how they're going to make money and how you're going to get it back to them and what type of return they're going to make. That's really what investors are looking for. The other problems we see are getting too involved in the details, okay? People get really involved in the product, as you'll see. It's their baby, right? That's what's really special to them, and their focus is on the product or the service and how it works and all the interesting details about it. Okay, but from the reader's point of view, that's really not what we care about necessarily. We care about the market opportunity, how you're going to make this money. Okay, so after we talk about the types of mistakes we see, again, it's followed by examples here. So I tried to pull the worst examples I could. In a number of instances, you guys are going to laugh, you're going to chuckle. In other cases, you're going to say, Bart, you're being a little harsh, I don't see it, okay? Not all of them are great examples of great mistakes, probably because of the time. It's the type of thing where I didn't see a lot of mistakes. Some of them are just way out in left field, as you'll see. Okay, so again, let me read this example. So, company delivers integrated, real-time, secure solutions that provide an immediate return on investment for any size enterprise. Talks about return on investment, but doesn't talk about the numbers. It's just too vague, too ambiguous. Again, the point was get to the details of things. Company is a biomedical startup company. We have no debt. Who cares? Okay. The research behind the company's intellectual property is based upon 8.5 years of study. Too much background. The fact that it's based upon 8.5 years of study doesn't matter. It's executive summary. Get focused. The reason why they said we have no debt, and that's really kind of, again, a function of when the technology bubble burst, because everyone had debt. Okay, and so it was a good thing at that time to say we have no debt. Not really relevant, but the point is everyone was kind of proud to say it at the time, at least if they were in that situation. All right, GIS that are capable of running on mobile devices, PDAs, pocket PCs, handheld computers, laptops, etc., are referred to as Mobile Geographic Information Systems, MOGIs. Unfortunately, MOGIs have not evolved to the point where geoscientists can effectively collaborate in their geospatial management activities such as geospatial data collection, file sharing, and distributed processing. Does anybody know what the hell they're talking about? Yeah, I don't either, okay? So basically what it is they're getting way too involved in the science behind this thing, how it works, how it functions, talking way above our heads, using jargon. Anyhow, just a really bad example of an executive summary, and probably a really bad example of any other place in the plan. Okay. Mission and vision. Okay, again, this is more the touchy-feely thing. Who we are and where we want to go to. Okay? Don't regurgitate a description of your business. Okay, this is not supposed to be, what the business does. This is who we are. This is our mission. This is where we're trying to get to in life. Okay? Don't make it boring. These are supposed to be sexy, exciting things. If your lofty aspirations are boring, what does that say about your company? Okay? Don't claim to be something you aren't. Okay? In other words, have a little bit of realism and perspective here. Okay? At the end of the day, is make sure that people look at this and say, yeah, I think they could get to that, or even though it's a lofty goal, that's a worthwhile goal, and maybe someone will eventually get there. Example. Company has already developed the methods and schematics for its technology and will be in a position to beta test within 4 months of funding. That was under a heading called mission, okay? And again, all they're doing is they're just kind of telling you again what the business is. And again, who cares that they're going to be in a beta test within 4 months of funding? Number one, the fact that they're talking about a beta test has nothing to do with their mission, vision. And number two, beta test, anyhow, strange stuff. But nonetheless, in somebody's business plan. Okay, questions before we move on? Executive summary, missions, values. Okay. All right, company description. All right. People tend to include far too much detailed information about the business. Okay. Appears as though you have no business history or business purpose. In other words, why are we in business? Again, the focus here is to make money and to basically deliver products and services where there's a market pain that's not being met. Right? Keep that in mind as you do this. Leaving out important business and legal particulars. Yeah, question in the back.
Quick question. So the people that will be giving the funding, are they really sticklers for the titles of each of the category contents, or do they really care more about the contents?
The titles, some of the titles are key. Competitive, not all these. Like when you're doing a PowerPoint or deck presentation to investors, I tell people don't even worry about a mission and vision statement. But nonetheless, people do that in business plans, and that's why we're talking about it. There are certain areas that are more important than others. You probably hear it have no more than 8 or 10 slides, which means you're not going to cover all these things. Some of these you're going to have in the back in case they ask questions about it. But the answer is no, you're going to have to prioritize what's really important about your business. Okay? All right. Examples. Okay? Company is a Nevada corporation. Oop, let's stop. Number one is who cares, and number two, Nevada Corps don't have a great reputation to begin with, so not a great way to lead off your business description, okay? Company is a Nevada corporation, woohoo, okay, formed to develop and administrate a multimedia communications enterprise, taking advantage of specific markets and specific technologies while capitalizing on management's experience in IT telecommunications, marketing, manufacturing, finance, and media production, building, and delivering. A multi-channel communication broadcasting company with an international customer base. Okay? You guys know what these guys do? Yeah, I didn't either. Okay? Basically what they were doing is they were putting radios inside hotels that basically had access to the web to basically do some broadcasting. Pretty clear from this, isn't it? Okay. And again, also keep in mind, it's not like I took the liberties of pulling things out. It's not like there was another sentence or two that said that. And it's just the point here is that they didn't really go on to clarify it. Otherwise, I don't think I would have pulled them in here. Okay, products and services. All right, this is everybody's babies, right? This is what they've been toiling in the labs or toiling and writing code for to develop these things. So the problems that I see in business plans tend to be these. People fail to identify the benefits of the product or the service. Okay. I mentioned earlier about what's the pain in the market that they're solving. To me, that is the most important thing in the presentation, to your point about what's really important. If you can't convince me that there's a pain in the market that you're solving, I'm not going to care about what you're doing. What it really comes down to is who's going to buy your product? Well, it's got to be the people who are suffering this pain, right? And so to me, it's one of the most important things. But if all you do is tell me about your product, and you don't tell me that people are having a problem and then why they want it, I'm not going to be convinced that this is something for me. Other problems, describing the product, service, and language that's just too technical. We've seen some examples of that already. Omitting the specific problem the product, service addresses and how the problem is solved. That's our pain in the market. Assuming an improved product or service will sell by itself. It's the better mousetrap that everybody's going to want. Well, people may be happy with their mousetraps. Okay. Examples. This kit will improve medicine. Okay? Lofty statement, right? Presently, the gold standard for blood draws is an 8 or 9 panel blood test. It is our opinion this is not enough. It almost sounds more like a mission statement at first, right? But this was in the product description. The main competitive edges product has relative to other similar radiation devices already in the market are its projected low price, compactness, and inconspicuous design. It's cheap and good looking, okay? So, kind of how some of us pick our dates, right? No, saying sorry. Anyhow, at the end of the day is, it didn't describe the product. What they really thought about, what they were really doing was talking about competition. We're going to be competition because we've got a low price, sexy product, okay? But they didn't tell us anything about the product or service itself. Industry analysis. Okay, not demonstrating a solid understanding of how your industry functions. To your question, it's critical that people know their industry. When investors drill down in presentations, they will ask questions just to find out how well you really know your industry. If you don't know your industry, you don't have a whole lot of credibility about anything that you're telling them. Okay? Appearing unaware about the companies that form your industry. Who are the major players? From a competitive point of view, from a distribution point of view, from a relationship point of view, how do you get your word out? From a PR point of view, marketing, you name it. What's the world you're going to be living in? How well do you know it? People show a real lack of understanding as to where your business fits into the distribution channel. Okay, just a complete lack of knowledge as to how products or services like this reach their customer. Okay, example. An indication of the market size can be obtained by reviewing the current state of monitoring at the US borders. Custom inspectors increasingly rely on an array of high-tech gadgets, including scanners and handheld detectors, no bigger than a pager, to see inside shipping containers. A computerized container tracking system now alerts custom agents to suspect boxes while the transport ships are still at sea. Custom inspectors working at overseas ports are directing local officials to suspicious containers before they are loaded aboard American-bound ships. Right, this is all post 9/11 stuff. About 72 mobile devices have already been added to the 40 that agency already had and are deployed at major ports and border crossings. In the ports of LA and Long Beach, the third busiest port complex in the world, inspection of containers is up to 320% since September 11th, 2001. Why do I have this here? To me, this is an example of build it and they will come. Okay? What they're basically saying is there's a bunch of this stuff already out there, okay? And because of that, there's going to be a market for us. But it doesn't really talk about what's driving these things. What are the dynamics? It doesn't talk about the fact that there's dissatisfaction with the existing products. What it basically is, it's kind of the high tide, right, raises all ships. There's a lot going on in this area right now, and we're going to come in for our piece of the pie. Target market. Don't assume that everyone is a buyer of your product or service. Okay? Don't assume that you must have a huge target market. Okay? Nice little niche markets can be good businesses as well. Need to explain what's different about your solution. Okay? What are you doing that's different that's going to address this unsolved need in the market? Don't be unclear about the characteristics that define who your customers are. Okay? You may not be targeting all customers in this industry. You may be targeting a certain subset of people in this market. Don't jump to conclusions about why your target market needs you. Okay, that's again, build it and they will come. Instead, explain how you meet their needs. Don't underestimate the value of focus. Okay, laser sharp vision, right, you hear about. Sell a specific product service to a specific group and don't try to target too many markets at once. Sometimes we see people coming in at Tech Coast Angels or other presentations, and they're attacking markets in a bunch of different directions. They're going to be selling to lawyers, they're going to be selling to accountants, they're going to be selling it to beauty salons, and at the end of the day is, what you really want to do, or at least conventional wisdom is, and again, there's always exceptions to the rule, but find a market niche that you can go in and conquer, and then you can leverage that success into other areas. So try to have a good focus on who the market is, and make sure that your plan reflects that. So here's some examples. Okay? Historically, customers have proven that they will pay for what they want or need, and it is the mission of the company to fulfill that need. Okay? How many business plans can that statement go into? Probably everyone, right? It's an absolutely generic truth. I mean, just, right? People will pay for what they want, and we're going to give them what they want. Okay? Thereby giving company an opportunity to build strong brand allegiance while building our company. Yep, we're going to be like everybody else, building what people want. Okay, and we're going to build a strong brand because of that. Marketing sales plan. Okay, again, how you reach your customer. Going back to your question, how you reach your customers, one of the real, probably one of the top 3 to 5 elements. Because again, if you've convinced me that there's a pain in the market, and you've convinced me that you've got a product that's solving that pain, now I want to know is how you're going to sell it. How can you get this thing sold to people? Some of the problems we see are that people tend to define the market too widely and assume success will result from simply capturing a small portion of this enormous market. Okay? This market's so huge, if we only had a little itty bitty piece, right, we'd be a $100 million a year company. See that all the time. Attempting to attack an entire market instead of a narrow niche. That goes back to our comment about laser focus. See, some of these concepts overlap. Attempting to immediately fill several lucrative but unrelated markets. Okay, you're taking too many resources, you're too far dispersed, you're going to run out of money before you basically conquer any one of these niches and get anywhere. Making assumptions about your target market without research or concrete support. Why do you believe this? I just know. Not specifically identifying the mediums you will use to advertise and promote your product. Is this an OEM play? Are you going through distribution channels? Are you going to advertise directly to consumers? Is this going to go viral and everyone's going to find out about you? Okay. How do you get the word out? How are you going to reach your customers? Making the assumption that offering a lower price will lead to increased sales. Right, we saw that earlier. Remember the sexy low-priced laser? Okay, we're going to be cheap and everybody's going to want us. All right, underestimating the importance of packaging, brand name, and reputation. Right, the big boys, they're slow, they're lethargic. Boy, don't know how the hell they got to where they are now, but they sure don't know what they're doing. Don't overemphasize having signed a big contract with a major company. Okay, why? If that's all you've got an overconcentration of one customer. What happens if that customer goes away? The other thing we see is overemphasizing not having contracts. Well, we've got relationships with X, Y, and Z. Really? Do you have contracts with them? No. But they said if we could build this, they'll be our customer. Have you built it yet? Well, no. Is there a technology risk? Maybe. Okay. The point here is it's good to have contracts with people. It's bad to have only one really big contract in case you can leverage it. Right? Instead, highlight that the company is adept at forging strategic relationships. Okay, we're good at that. Here's an example. We just landed this contract and we're talking to 10 other people. So take a negative and spin it into a positive. Okay, here's some examples. Again, how you reach your customer. The company estimates that at least 14,000 of the third-party program customers, 40% installed base, could use company solutions to process electronic payments with an immediate ROI. Okay. Again, this was their marketing distribution. They basically said it's realistic to think that 14,000 people will use our thing. And there's really no plan as to how that was going to happen. Again, not necessarily a bad statement if there was other evidence and stuff to support it, but again, you don't have the benefit of seeing the rest of the plan. Okay. Here's one. Staying small and utilizing existing companies to leverage the market will enable company to maintain a level of profitability and successor unparalleled by any formidable competitor. We're lean, we're mean, we're going to get it done. Okay, we're going to maneuver around the big sloth companies. Okay, how often does that happen? We don't see it a whole lot. It does happen, right? But there's a reason why those companies are big. They do know what they're doing. We will not have a direct sales force. Oh, no, 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 no. As acceptance and validation for the product grows, single orders can be taken over the website. These orders will be filled from a small inventory of finished kits. So we get inundated with orders, and we're going to fill them with a small inventory of kits. Okay, that one's convincing me. With security concerns on the rise, and a burgeoning repair market currently costs $8 billion a year nationally, the U.S. Department of Justice estimates these costs at $12 billion a year. The company has identified a large and growing market for its existing technology. Okay. Again, this is if we only had a small piece of a big market type of marketing strategy. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Competition. A very critical part of the presentation as well. Goes with your knowledge of the industry, right? Who else is there and who's in your space? All right, let's see it all the time. Matthew, you probably see it all the time. Okay, ask the question, who's your competition? People either say, we have no competition, okay? Or what do they say? we have no direct competition, okay? Because they were told and they've heard that you never say we have no competition. So all of a sudden it's okay now to say we have no direct competition because now they acknowledge that there's a lot of indirect competition, okay? So the point here is businesses don't operate in a vacuum, okay? If there's no competition, the common thought is that usually there's a reason why nobody's here, is that there isn't a market here, or people can't make money at it, all right? I mean, hey, we don't have commercial transport to the moon. There's a reason. It's too costly, right? There's a reason why there's no market that's providing commercial transportation to outer space right now. They're talking about it, but the costs have to come down, right? All right. The other thought here is management may not see external factors that impact the business. I mean, this really comes down as a show of ignorance on the part of management. There's always people competing. It's just the question is how do you define your business and how you define the market that you're in. If you define it narrow enough, of course you don't have competition, okay? But the real question is who's competing for your product or service, or who's competing to solve this pain, okay? Your product may be one of them and it may be the only one, but it's being solved in other manners. Failing to identify direct and indirect competitors. Okay, sometimes people are very good at direct, identifying the direct competitors. In other words, if you're a car manufacturer and somebody else is manufacturing cars, they're a direct competitor, okay? But an indirect competitor would be someone doing those three-wheeled vehicles we're seeing, bicycles, okay? Motorcycles. Those are all indirect competition. They're solving the same pain, but in a different way. Underestimating the strength of competitors. Again, this is kind of they're big, they're slow, they're stupid, okay? Just underestimating, the big boys in the market. Omitting the specific competitive advantages you hold over your competition, okay? Why is it and what are you doing that should really get us interested? Are you delivering it because you've got a price point, somehow you've got a manufacturing process that can deliver it at a much lower price? Is it that it's much better looking? Current technology and its consumer product. It's like the iPhone, right? It was just a really sexy looking product, did a lot of cool things, coolness factor. There's a lot of different reasons that your product will reach more people or be a better sell. Tell us what it is.
Question?
Yeah.
This sounds a little bit like industry analysis. So how do you make sure you differentiate and why is that important?
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent it is. I mean, all this overlaps, right? I mean, there are never clear dividing lines between these things. To me, competition is a subset of the industry analysis. Okay, who's there? But the industry analysis slide, I think it's more of a generic approach of what's going on in the industry. What are the trends? Okay, what are the areas of influence that you're seeing? So, for example, at the time I did this presentation, one of the biggest industry trends was post 9/11. You can see a lot of these were security or defense companies. And that was kind of some of the undertow. So the industry analysis was there was a lot going on in that space and it was a hot space. Where competitive analysis, of course, is who else is trying to take advantage of that and who's going to, again, eat your lunch, who's going to get in the way of you and your customer. Okay.
Do you recommend doing a SWOT analysis on your competition and putting it in your business plan?
A SWOT analysis?
Yeah.
It's an acronym for...
Strengths and weaknesses and their opportunities and threats.
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer is, just a brief aside on business plans. Business plans are the things I tell people to, I mean, I'm telling you about the mistakes people make in the business plans, but at the same time I'm going to tell you to don't worry about your business plans too much. At the end of the day is, people spend a lot of time, way too much time drafting business plans and making them look pretty, okay, when they should be focusing on their business. These are the things you need to know, okay, and they need to be in your business plan, whether it's on paper or whether it's in your head. But at the end of the day is, you got to be able to speak intelligently when asked about these things. And the answer is, of course, you need to do that SWOT analysis. Whether you actually do it in the business plan or not, I think is a matter of style, okay? A lot depends how long you want your business plan to be. I don't think it's a good idea to have business plans too long. Most people don't read them. But you, as the owner of the business or the entrepreneur, you need to know this stuff cold. And doing the SWOT analysis will help you in doing that.
What's a good length and page number?
I probably see a lot of business plans around 30 plus. I tend to like them probably more around the 25 to 30 range. I think people tend to be too verbose, and I would rather have a short, succinct business plan followed by appendixes, and exhibits, so that if I do have interest in that area, I can drill down on it, as opposed to kind of making me go through it when I may not necessarily want to do it. It's all about making it you. It's all about making you.
And illustrations in there. Do you think it's good to shepherd them throughout your plan?
You know, it comes down to typical lawyer answer, it depends. Lots of times I find exhibits and pictures to be distracting and not very helpful to the point you're trying to communicate. I find that especially true on PowerPoint presentations, you know, where I see entrepreneurs coming up and they've got busy slides, there's arrows, there's diagrams, there's, you know, and it's, what am I doing? I'm looking at your chart while you're trying to talk and communicate something to me. And that's just, to me, not a very effective presentation style. In a business plan, I would worry about, to me, the choice is, does it help the reader understand the point you're trying to make, as opposed to, does it just look good and make the thing look pretty, right?
Thanks.
Okay. In the little time the company has been in the market, yep, we're here and we're hot and we're moving quick. Okay, the company already dominates, okay? In the little time we've been around, we dominate the third-party program segment. Who wouldn't invest in this company? Okay? The problem is nobody believes it. It's too grandiose of a statement. Company has many competitors in all product spaces. However, there is no one delivering, again, this is the tough one here, you know, no one is delivering the total bundled services package and combined products like that of company. Affiliate support services and the patented product technologies, unique content, and specialty events will benefit charities and ability to share revenue streams. What I just took care of the competition. Everybody knows about it and knows why I'm going to be successful. Kind of started talking about their product again, didn't they? So this is our product will sell itself. Don't care what the other people are doing type of paragraph. Management team. Management team's really important. Okay, I mean, really like your business, but it really comes down to execution. Okay, if people can't execute and deliver and get the business moving, no one's going to win. The management team is critical. The problems we see are depending on unqualified friends or family. Why do we do that? Because the price is right. They're cheap. They work for free. Okay? But at the end of the day they tend to be liabilities and they tend to drag you down. Okay? People use the estates and trusts lawyer across the way to do their incorporation documents, right? He'll do it as a buddy, he'll do it for free maybe, but it's not the guy you really want doing the stuff. So resist the urge to use people who are not qualified just because they're willing to help you for free. It doesn't really do you a whole lot of good. Okay. Assuming that previous success in other industry applies to your current industry. Okay, that's a serial entrepreneur. The real question is what the serial entrepreneur did in the other industry, does it somehow translate into success into this industry? Okay. The better of a tie, that's great. Sometimes people are just great, they'll succeed in any industry. But at the same time, don't try to squeeze a person's background into your industry if it doesn't really fit. Okay, it's just being honest with how you present this. Attempting to attract top managers without sharing ownership. Okay, we're bringing all these top people in, but this company's mine. Okay, I'm not going to share it with anybody. Bad sign. Okay, number one, it shows the owner's a control freak. Number two, management team doesn't have skin in the game, doesn't have incentive to perform, and just doesn't look very good. And it's not a formula for success typically. Failing to attract and assemble a knowledgeable board of advisors. Okay, two different thoughts on that. Board of advisors can be liabilities, and they can be great benefits. Okay, if you are going to have a board of advisors, make sure they're actively engaged in your business. You wouldn't believe how many times people who are listed as board of advisors are actually contacted by investors and say, hey, I saw you were working with so-and-so. What can you tell me about the company? Who? Oh, yeah, I remember the guy. I haven't talked to him in a year. It's a real liability. I mean, for you to be out there putting people as advisors, they're not actively engaged in your business. I think most early stage companies overuse advisors and overlist advisors. So if you have advisors, make sure they're actively involved. Meet with them once a month so they remember you and they can help and they can contribute. Okay, but don't take too much of them. Again, this is just being honest of how involved people are. Lack of financial investment on the part of the founders. People like to see that the founders are invested, both time-wise and finance-wise. You don't have to put everything in, but they'd like to see that you have a meaningful chunk. What they don't like to see is that you've got a net worth of several $1 million and you refuse to put any money into the company. What does that say about your confidence if you're not even willing to invest in the company? Okay, some examples. Company takes the same philosophy used in founders' previous companies, that of a relatively small, close-knit family of employees who work together as a unit to a common end. Doesn't that one just scare the hell out of you? So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That one just kind of makes me feel kind of nervous. While a company uses a small local accounting firm for bookkeeping services at present, in other words, we're cost-effective, company tends to recruit a major accounting firm for audit purposes upon funding. So we're going to spend the money silly and wastefully. Operational plan. Failing to outline the process by which you manufacture, distribute, and sell your product or services. Okay? Again, this is kind of the more global. Again, lots of overlap with the other topics, but how are we going to get from point A to point B? This is really the strategic operational plan. Failing to account for all production costs. You just don't understand the numbers well. Okay? Comment goes to financial projections as well. But again, the operational plan has to have the numbers. We can only get from point A to point B if we don't run out of gas in the car, right? We've got to have enough funds to get from one place to the other. Failing to properly plan for contingencies to meet production and staffing challenges, right? What happens if something goes bust? What happens if there's a labor shortage? What happens if we can't get chips out of Japan? I mean, what's going to happen? What are the backups? Okay. Here's my favorite. Okay. We are a startup firm, right? We're a startup firm and have limited capital, being honest with you. We're developing new and virtually unknown markets. We'll boldly go where no one has gone before, right? Industry trends and technology affect demand patterns and hence prices. Ooh, they're economists too. We are in the process of identifying a CEO with experience to complement our existing management team. However, there is no guarantee that will attract this person. Okay? Being honest with you, right? Okay? We have not identified a complete board of scientific advisors. Nope, haven't done so. We're straight shooters. We have not identified our marketing team. Nope, not them either, and are not sure if we can attract the right personnel to facilitate our marketing strategy. It's almost like a lawyer wrote this thing and said, no, you can't say this, you can't, right? Our proprietary process and concept patent applications have not been filed. Therefore, we don't know if we can protect our proprietary technology. Risks on you, sucker. Our cost is to develop the automated analyzer is an estimated cost. Don't even know what the number is going to be. And we are not certain if our projected development costs will significantly impact our pricing model. Sign me up. Okay. Yeah, these are real. Okay. Financial projections. Right? Presenting sales and profit projections that are unrealistic. Okay, you all know what I mean by the hockey stick. Okay. And it's really good when they've got the hockey stick. And what do people say, Matthew? Ah, God, we're not sinking it.
You didn't prep me well enough.
Yeah. Our numbers are
Estimates.
conservative.
Conservative.
Yeah, no, we're being conservative here. We're gonna get the hockey stick, and between us, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, we're gonna do a lot better than that. Okay, these are conservative numbers. Don't have to worry. Okay. Omitting financial assumptions to explain where the numbers originated. Boom, this is gonna cost this, this is gonna cost this. You gotta have somewhere, whether you know it in your head or you have it on paper, you gotta be able to tell us where these numbers came from so that we can at least try to judge whether or not this is just pie in the sky, or whether or not you've actually thought about this. Underestimating expenses and not budgeting for unexpected costs. Okay, didn't have any good examples because it's financial projections. They all kind of look like this. Right? I did have one that literally did show them having $1 billion in revenue after 3 years, which I thought was a little bit, and again, I think they did use the word conservative in their estimates as well. I believe that company right now just did about $10 million in revenue after about 7 or 8 years. So, Okay.
Do you ever see financial plans where the expenses don't match the revenue? You know, where people will project, well, we're gonna do 30 or $40 million in revenues, but our expenses are gonna stay at, you know, $200 a month.
Yeah, I mean, it really goes down to the industry analysis. I mean, you see companies that they say we'll have an EBITDA, or we'll have a margin of X, and everybody who knows that industry will say it's impossible. You know, there's no way you can have a margin that big in this type of industry. And so it goes down to really the knowledge of the industry. But so, I mean, what it does is, through the financial projections, a lot of investors will just say they have no idea what they're talking about because all of their assumptions are just wrong, okay? It's lack of experience in the industry. Okay, exit strategy. How we're getting out of this thing together, how we're making everybody money. Assuming that you have a business with the potential to go public. We still see that, not probably as much as we did in the early 2000s because the tech bubble was still more fresh in people's minds. You know, although it was also the worst time to go public, but people still thought it was something to aspire to. The point is, you don't just have these blanket statements. You have to explain why, okay? Maybe there's not a lot of acquirers in this market, and so this is the one that makes the most sense. But the point here is, you gotta be able to justify these statements. Failing to explain how your investor will significantly recoup their investment and a sufficient return, okay? How are we gonna basically get you liquidated and get you sold so that you can make a lot of money and be a happy investor, all right? Who's gonna buy us? How much do we think the company's gonna be worth in 3 to 5 years? And why we think we should sell it in 3 years as opposed to 5. Completely ignoring this aspect of the planning process or having no exit strategy at all. Okay, just kind of ducking it, okay? At the end of the day, is again, I think you gotta be sensitive of how you can get out and how people can make money. All right, some examples. The exit strategy of the company is after building the company to several $1 million in sales, several $1 million in sales, okay, to sell the corporation to one of these large companies. Okay. As an investor, why would that turn me off? Yeah.
There's no specific, and I mean, several $1 million, it's not a, you know, target, it's not a clear target.
Good answer, but there's a better answer. Why, as an investor, would this turn me off? They're going to build this company to several $1 million in sales, and then they're going to sell. Because it's not good enough. I want you to grow this thing to several $100 million. You're going to sell before you've had a chance to get me a really good return on my money. It's too early. What does that tell me? It tells me that these guys really are lifestyle guys who just want to make a quick $1 million or $2 million. But you're not going to realize the full potential of this business if you're going to sell it too early. That's what I think this statement says, and that's why I think it would scare anybody away. Okay. I don't want to invest in a company whose goal is to get the company to several $1 million. Okay. I mean, by several $1 million, I think they're making 3, 5, 7, right? I think that's all they're really talking about here. To either sell or go public when the market rebounds. That's what we were seeing in the early 2000s. When the market turns, we're going public. Okay? From an investor's point of view is, well, what do you do if the market never turns? We may never have an IPO market. And son of a gun, here we are, what, 10 years past the bubble? And the public market hasn't really come back to early stage technology companies. There's been glimpses every now and then, but we've never seen the heyday of IPOs that we once did. The point is, you just can't count on the future looking like the past. And you gotta be able to provide for contingencies. Long-range financial strategy is to go public. Long range, that's good. They're not getting out too cheap, okay? The IPO market is starting to heat up again. Yep, sure is. Getting hot, okay? If the market continues to improve, IPO is likely to happen in 2006. I believe this company failed in 2004. The point is, they just make it seem really easy, right? Again, this is kind of the high tide raises all ships, okay? The market's gonna heat up. We're gonna be back in the world where anybody can raise money on the back of a napkin, and you know, we're just gonna ride that wave with everybody else. Okay. You know, they told me to wrap it up at like 10 of, it's 12 of, we've got a little extra time, so, any questions? Yeah?
Do you recommend to certify data in terms of the industry analysis, the target market, the operational financial projection numbers? Do you recommend numbers? And the other question is about IP. you recommend to specifically that you add IP protection for your technology?
Mm-hmm. Okay, good questions. Yes and yes.
Good answer.
So anyhow, on the quantification of numbers, okay, the answer is yes, but don't go overboard. Okay, give me enough numbers that you tease me, that you get me interested, and that you want me to ask questions. But don't bury me in numbers, okay? Because then you're going to make my head spin, and I'm going to get tired, and I'm not going to want to get through it. Okay? So give me enough numbers. Tell me how big the market is. Tell me what kind of return I'm going to have on my investment if certain things happen. But be gentle on me. Okay? Just don't get too much into the numbers. On the IP protection, it kind of goes down to your competitive analysis to a certain extent. Okay? How are you going to compete, and how are you going to basically keep people from coming in and taking your market? You've got to build up fences around your IP. Okay? And so it's really important in the competitive analysis to tell me that you're going to be able to keep people out. You've got something that's really hot, and people can't get it because you're going to get a patent, or you've already received a patent on it. So we didn't talk about it. Great question, but that's exactly where I think it comes in. Okay? Yeah.
When developing your business, how much should you know ahead of time? How much should can you reasonably expect to know, and how much should you kind of learn on the go as you're going?
Learning on the go is fine if it's your dime. Okay? I don't want you learning on my dime. So I think the end result is,
Practically.
by the time you're ready to kind of ask people to invest in you, I think it's a fair expectation of the investor that you know this market cold. Okay? You had a question?
Yeah, going to, on the website, on your company's website, how much of this information, or like what key points should you focus on when you're marketing your business on a website? Is it, I've seen a lot of websites where they're extremely text heavy and,
Yeah. So the real question is, what's your website for? Okay. So if the website is for selling your service or product, okay, then it becomes a marketing tool, and so it's really a marketing piece. Okay. And so I think that's a discussion you would have to have with a marketing expert. The other thing is, I would talk to SEO people about how you get people to the website, and then they're going to want to know what your conversion rate is once people come to your website. How many people are staying there? How long are they staying there? There's a lot of great people out there who can help you on web analytics. There's a great networking organization called Tech Biz Connection that does a lot of programs on website usability, paid search, organic search. The URL is techbizconnection.org. It's a great organization to get some information on that. Other questions?
Bart, do you see people assuming that provisional patents are the same as intellectual property? I see a lot of business.
Why aren't they?
Because they're provisional.
Yeah, but they're good.
Well,
they're not. Well, provisional patents are essentially, for those who don't know what a provisional patent is, it's basically a shorthanded filing that you take your stake and you stab it in the ground, and you say, this is my intellectual property. And you have to file a patent application within a year, okay, in order to basically keep the priority. So what it does is, it's a cheaper way, supposedly, to get something on file with the United States Patent and Trademark Office while you spend more time developing your business, or you spend more time drafting the patent application. A lot of people used to do it because it would give you a year to start to see how the business goes as to whether or not you want to spend more money on the patent application. And today the patent application takes 3 to 5 years before the patent office even gets back to you. So most businesses are dead before they ever hear back from the USPTO nowadays. But the point is, what it does is, it gives people protection in that it's public information eventually that shows when they put the stake in the claim. Because for our patent office, it's not who filed first, but it's who made the first discovery. So the real value of it is basically showing, when you made the discovery.
I guess I would see value in a well-constructed provisional
Mm-hmm.
with a good kind of solid
Mm-hmm.
freedom to operate opinion and an overview of the IP market.
Yeah.
Although I see a lot of stuff that I just really don't think is patentable.
Yeah.
And people will say, oh yeah, I filed with provisional.
Yeah.
And they expect that is.
So the nice thing about the provisional is it doesn't go public till I think 18 months like the other stuff, and by that time you've either made your patent application or you do not. Okay, so it does give people a little bit earlier glimpse to the extent it comes out earlier. I'm not sure about the rules, but there is value. I mean, it does allow people to do things themselves, but to your point is you make it yourself, kind of back yourself in a corner if you don't do it right. So I think at least our firm, our law firm strategy, we do a lot of patent filings for our clients. Sometimes we do provisionals that cost as much as a patent application because our thought is that there's really no value unless you kind of really articulate it out at that point in time. So for a lot of times we just advise our clients to go straight to the patent application.
I guess I would see the difference between a provisional filed by an IP law firm versus a provisional filed by me through the USPTO website.
Yep, yep. I think it's right. Just, yeah, Jeff.
We're going to talk about IP protection, especially in an academic environment. I think it's also important to talk about enabling public disclosure and not giving away the rights to get
Right.
your protection.
That's my other presentation called Common Entrepreneur Mistakes. And that's available on SlideShare. Basically, that's right. I mean, some of the biggest mistakes are work for hire doctrine. If people think that you pay a contractor to develop the technology, they think that just because you pay them, it's your technology, and it's actually the complete opposite. Unless there's a writing that says otherwise, the person who invents, the person who writes the code, the person who conceptualizes it, owns it. And that's one of the biggest mistakes, but you're absolutely right. It's kind of beyond the scope of the business plan itself. But a lot of people get into issues because contractors own their code and they don't know it, or employees want. In fact, driving over here, one of my clients called me. One of his developers who had left about a year ago decided that they were going to put on their website some of my client's source code as an example, like a writing sample. This is how good I am. Okay, and so I'm going to find out after this as to whether or not the guy voluntarily took it down or whether or not we're going to have to be nasty. But yeah, there's a lot of things that can go out there that can kind of basically, screw up the IP and the ownership. Okay, back of the room.
What kind of finance projection do you see as realistic or convincing instead of a hockey stick? So like, most of these are calculated pro forma. So how do you add it?
3.7 million year one, 5.8 year two, and 9.7 year three. So, no, I mean, the answer is obviously it depends on the industry, how fast you can ramp, how much money you have, because the more money you have, perhaps you can market better and you can get bigger faster. But a lot depends upon your assumptions. At the end of the day, your question is really, the answer to your question is it's based upon how reasonable and how good your assumptions are. Okay, how much will it cost for me to have a good developer? How much will it cost for me to bring in a good marketing person? What will it take to have an outsourced PR? How much am I going to have to pay my lawyer? Okay? I mean, all those things are going to factor into how reasonable your projections are. So I think the real answer is it's your assumptions and how credible they are as to whether or not you have a reasonable financial projection. Okay? Yeah.
Do you think it'd be reasonable to have projections based on several different scenarios, or just one set of numbers?
Well, it depends what your scenarios are. I mean, sometimes I see people with scenarios that if we raise 500,000 or if we raise $1 million, and that's fair because we're going to have less money to move the business along. Sometimes I see scenarios that turn on different things, which can be a little sketchy, or it could show me there's a little bit of insecurity as to whether or not you believe it's credible to get certain things. So, if you have specific things in mind, but, I think it's okay to, based upon how much money you raise, I think that's probably the only condition I normally see. I mean, sometimes you see it based upon whether or not a lawsuit's resolved, because sometimes companies do get sued early on, and maybe that's good because people are afraid of your technology, or maybe it's bad because you're ripping them off. But, so I would say the money and how much you raise is probably the primary contingency. Okay. Yeah?
Just a couple of quick ones. How many business plans do you see in a year?
Very few nowadays. I mean, it used to be that I would get them all the
10,
time.
20, 50?
I mean, if I asked people for them, I could see a lot, okay? It's just, they take a lot of time and I don't have a lot of time, so I don't necessarily encourage it. But what I do tell people, I tell them to send me their executive summary, okay? Because that I have time to review. Again, ideally we're talking about that one or two pager.
And what's the success rate on a typical business plan that's written? I mean, do they have to be rewritten many times over? And then are there Is there a company that helps in writing business plans?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of companies who can help you with business plans. You know, if you guys want to email me, I'd be glad to give you some names. The best bargain is TriTech. That's TriTech SBDC for Small Business Development Corporation. They're priced right. It's free. Okay, they're funded by the federal government, and a number of their consultants are members of Tech Coast Angels. So they're really good at helping, but they're not going to write it for you. I mean, they will review and they'll give you some advice. There are good, competent people out there who are very good service providers who will help you, and there are some people who will rip you off outright. Okay, so you know, network, ask people who know who the good people are. But I tell my startups, don't spend a lot of money on this. Don't worry about it looking pretty. What's important to me is that you understand these things. I don't necessarily have to see that it's been written in a very pretty, you know, nice looking document. Investors rarely ask for business plans nowadays. If they do, it's usually their way of getting rid of you and saying no. Just send me your business plan, right? It's really the way they say, I'm not interested, but I don't want to tell you that. It's the executive summary that's really important, and it's the PowerPoint deck that's important. You should be able to organize a PowerPoint deck to hit all these topics without making these mistakes. It's kind of the new business plan. Would you agree, Matthew?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Is that your elevator speech as well?
I mean, your elevator speech is the real short version of that. Your elevator speech, to me, does these. You introduce yourself, and I'll go slow because you want to write these down. Tell me who you are. Okay. Tell me the pain in the market that you're solving. Tell me how you're solving the pain. Tell me how big the market is, because I'm not going to care unless you're in a reasonably sized market. And then give me some more background on you and your team, so I have confidence that I know that you guys are going to be able to get the job done. Okay, you should be able to get all that done in 30 seconds. Okay, in a well-designed 30-second pitch. At TCVN, Tech Coast Venture Network, it's tcvn.org. Every fourth Thursday of the month, we have our forum. Everybody gets a chance to do a 30-second pitch. It's a great opportunity to come and practice. You know, it's a very friendly audience. It's very supportive, and the winner gets $100. So it's a fun little contest. But it's great to see it, and it's good practice. Especially, it's fun for me because I can see people improve over time. We have people who are nervous, they stutter, they freeze up, and then 2, 3, 4 months later, they're doing great. So it's a really great opportunity to practice and pitch. Okay. Other questions? Well, I'm not going to keep you from networking or the pizza. So anyhow, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.